Hello, welcome to Book at Bedtime. Tonight we'll read an excerpt from the novel by George H. Pate titled The Devil's Footprint. It's the story of a voyage of a cargo ship named the Lake Ladoga from Canada to Latvia, loaded with heavy equipment, trucks, and cars. Unknown to the officers and crew of the ship, something besides cargo was laden on board in Canada. And en route, something more sinister than cargo joins the ship. With great difficulty, he forced himself to concentrate, to reason a way out of his predicament. How to get away without being seen or heard. He figured that he was smaller than his tormentor, so maybe he could go places that it could not. Was he faster? That remained to be proven, and a wrong guess on either of these points would likely prove fatal. Recalling the layout of the compartment, he worked out a strategy. There was a watertight door through the bulkhead dividing each hold from its neighbor, in both the lower level and up on the 'tween deck. If he could get to the watertight door with enough lead time, he might be able to open it enough to squeeze through and then shut it behind, sealing it in number 1. He could then go up the ladder to the 'tween deck in number 2, open the door on that level, and then race it to the ladder going up the access hatch for number 1, the only hatch that he could use to get out onto the weather deck. He hoped that the thing did not have the intelligence to figure out where he was going and cut him off. The only other solution was to remain hidden and wait for help to come. Ignacio did not think his nerves could stand up to that. In any case, the intruder might discover his very uncomfortable steel den while he waited. No, the passive approach held less promise than making some kind of run for it. While he went over his options, the thing started moving again, the whistling traversing from left to right. Ignacio wanted to have a clearer picture of the path he would have to take. He had resolved to stay under the vehicles as much as possible while working his way toward the watertight door off to his front left. It would not be a good thing to encounter unexpected straps or chains and get hung up. Holding his breath, he pointed the flashlight in the proposed direction and switched it on for a brief moment, and saw that his path was clear if he went straight ahead, switched it off again, and then listened. The momentary flash of light instigated no change in the situation. Moving as quickly as he could, he started the process of feeling his way forward and at the same time reaching up to see if he had emerged from underneath the truck. The deck felt cold and slippery. For just a few feet under him, the Denmark Strait had a temperature of about 30 degrees. His upraised finger now indicated that he had come to the end of the first truck, and now he had to cross the gap to it to the next unit. Ignacio stopped to listen, and although he couldn't be certain, the whistling seemed to come from a row or two over to starboard. He would not be able to ascertain which way it faced, and he could emerge into its full view. Having had success the first time he used his light, he decided to try again. He pointed it in what he hoped was the correct direction and flashed the light on and off quickly again, the beam revealing a pair of very large feet. They appeared to be in the same gap that he wanted to cross, about 2 rows over. As in the first instance, the light did not seem to prod the invader into action. Ignacio began to wonder whether it could even see the light. It was certainly able to move around adroitly in a pitch-black compartment. Maybe it didn't need light. He eased out from under the original truck and sort of oozed his way under the next truck in the line, not stopping until he had got to the far end of this unit. He didn't think that he had made any noise, but the whistling started moving again. Only it was moving his way. It seemed to be going toward the forward end of the hold, away from the door that Ignacio craved to gain. At this point, he had no idea of its location. Taking a chance, Ignacio slipped into the gap and slowly stood up. He would eventually be forced to leave the dubious comfort of the area under the truck anyway, since that type of unit did not go all the way to the forward end of the bulkhead between number 1 and number 2. He would not be able to fit under the ordinary cars that were stowed near the sides of the hold. The stark choice that confronted him was either to use stealth and feel his way toward the door, or use the flashlight and make a dash for it. He faced toward where he thought the door might be, and, feeling more confident in its use, shined the light towards the starboard aft corner of the hold. There was the door, about 4 rows over. He quickly turned the light off again and listened. The beast still whistled away near the forward end and made no movement aft. Feeling even bolder about the use of the light now, Ignacio peeked around the corner of the truck, faced toward the forward end of the hold, raised the light and switched it on. Ignacio could not help himself and yelled, "Madre de Dios!" 40 feet away, in the same lengthwise row that he now occupied, was the beast, and it faced right at him. Instantly the whistling changed to the short, loud pulse it emitted when it sensed and located its prey. It was at least 7 feet tall and human in shape. Ignacio saw its face, but there were no apparent features. There seemed to be no eyes, no mouth, and no ears, except for a very small bump on each side of its head. And now it was coming at him. Ignacio bolted toward the door, with the beast crashing and banging its way right behind him. He cleared the stowage area, reached the door, and seized the wheel that cranked it open, all the while muttering repeatedly, "Madre de Dios, es el diablo!" Just before it cleared the units, the beast tripped over some securing with a huge crash. Ignacio could hear it thrashing around as he tried to free himself from the tangle of straps and chains. The whistling was still loud, but it had lengthened again. The autos were blocking the direct line to its quarry. He turned the wheel with all the speed he could muster, and slowly the door cracked open enough for him to slip through sideways. He leaped toward the opening just as the beast extricated itself and relocated him. Ignacio could hear the thumping of steps of the thing as it raced toward him. He flicked through the door and lunged toward the control wheel on the other side of the bulkhead. His hands were a blur as he slapped at the wheel with a maximum effort to keep the thing in number 1. Once he believed the door to be closed, he shined a flashlight at the bulkhead to confirm his hopes. The door was fully shut, and he leaned against the wheel in exhaustion. He could hear the whistling on the other side of the bulkhead had reverted to its long, low mode. He felt something moving against his back, and he pivoted around to shine the flashlight where he had just been leaning. The wheel was turning. "Oh, madre, por favor!" Dropping the light, he seized the wheel and put all his strength into fighting its terrible motion. He had no chance. His hand slipped off of the wheel and he fell back onto the deck, striking his head on the bulkhead. Groggily, he grabbed the flashlight and swung the beam toward the door, which was now open. A dull, hairless shape stooped under the top of the door and confronted Ignacio, who was sitting on the deck. The whistling blew a rapid, piercing roar. Ignacio's mouth was frozen open, and he could only manage to voice small squeaks. 2 arms as long as ski poles reached for him, each tipped with 3-fingered claws. From the palm area of each claw, a sharp, bony tube about 4 inches long cycled in and out with a muted, clacking sound. If you wish to find out what happened, then please read the novel The Devil's Footprint by George H. Pate, available as an e-book on Amazon.com. To learn about my other works, please visit my website at www.georgehpate.com, which contain links to all of my other works. Thank you very much.